Hi, welcome to Tea Time with Amie and Bev. Good morning
Good morning.
or good day, whatever time of day it is for you.
How are things going?
Oh, fabulous. Fabulous. I'm getting ready after we do this recording. I have another speaking segment on another summit. So more practice at speaking, practice. And in the world of speaking on summits and podcasts, they say that it takes about 100 before you really get good at it. So I'm practicing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they said if your first 100 isn't like you go back and listen to them and you don't cringe. if you cringe, it's okay because I mean you're practicing, right? So personally, I haven't taken any kind of speaking classes. Definitely speaking in front of a class in school, in like high school, middle school, kindergarten wasn't my jam, man. So I've never taken a speaking class either, and so this is the way I'm practicing. So I've actually been invited to participate in another summit in April. And then I'll be on multiple platforms for podcasts because I finally got the word that the book that I've been working on is going to be released in May. And so we'll have our own podcast for that, for the book launch, but we're also, going out and promoting the book. So we'll be on many podcasts for the book.
Nice.
So I have lots of opportunity to practice. I mean, we practice with this every week, and I think that's what has helped me be comfortable because we've been doing this almost 2 years. Can you believe it?
Really?
2 years.
You and me?
Yeah.
This has been going on. That's kind of, yeah.
Almost 2 years.
It's crazy.
Amazing, right?
It is amazing.
Especially with our background where we're like, no, that's not going to happen ever in my lifetime. Let's just be clear about that.
Yeah. I could come out of my skin just thinking about that when I was a kid, like even having to be in front of the classroom and be like, I'm going to go to the bathroom real quick, hit the locker, get a couple of shots real quick.
Right.
I'd have alcohol stashed in that, by the way, teachers, now you know.
Yeah.
But then I'd be like going back to the class because then I actually had some liquid courage. So I thought back then. Yeah. Because I just really had a problem being seen. It was funny because I was always joking and laughing and people laughed at me all the time. I was pretty dang funny. Yeah. Pretty dang funny, but it was all right to be seen in those small groups, but then all of a sudden you put me in, I'm talking about something that's foreign to me. I'm doing, it wasn't even something, they were not my passions. When I look back at it now, it was not my passions. I don't even know where I would have been if I had been nurtured in that way, like to follow my passions the whole way. Jeez Louise. I mean, I can't even imagine because I'm getting so excited about the things in my life and it's only because I know that I'm finally finding my passion. And the first thing when I first started looking at some of these things, I was like, fuck that, I am not doing that. That is not for me. Just like you talked about the talking, what you've been doing, gosh, you got involved in some groups, you were speaking more in those, you were making yourself responsible. I say making yourself because it was, nobody else was in control of everything, but becoming more responsible for everybody, like doing the minutes and doing all that stuff. And, just so much stuff, but it's like, it wasn't, there's never something that you would look back and say, oh God, I wouldn't do that again. No, you did it once and maybe you wouldn't do it again but it served its purpose at that time. That's all that it was for. It was just another step up on the ladder. It was just the evolution. When you look back to this stuff, to me is just like amazing. To me, you've always been kind of open and talking, and which made it easy for me to become more open.
Well, first of all, when Pam, the psychic medium, told me I was a healer and a teacher, I've talked about this before. I denied it. I refused it. I was like, fuck you and the horse you rode in on, because I ain't doing it. No way. So then, I started doing healing stuff. And I was like, okay. But the teaching part, having a group of people looking at me and all eyes on me, and no, that I could not see myself doing. So it was a big leap from working one-on-one with somebody to setting up a class. And little did I know, right? Little do we know how amazing things can turn out beyond what we ever imagined, because what I was focused on in that time was me, people looking at me. And at that time, I was still not good enough. I didn't have the love for myself. I was just in that still kind of a dark place when I took that step. When you're in a space of focusing on yourself, when it comes to something like that, yeah, the fear creeps up, the anxiety, the nervousness, all the stuff, right? All that creeps in. I did that. I don't remember what it was, but I did my first class, and I realized how rewarding it was to be in service to others, to help them on their journey. Totally changed my perspective. Absolutely changed my perspective. And even, it was several years later, but a mentor of mine said, when you're nervous, focus on service, because it's not about you. You're there for them. You're there to share your tips, tricks, techniques. You're there to help them on their journey. You're there to serve. And when you turn that around, that perspective, right? When you turn that perspective and see it from a different viewpoint, like, I've moved through these things and this is what helped me. So here's my toolbox. Here's what I have to offer you, and what you do with it is up to you. But when I changed that, it just became so much easier.
To me, it becomes easier and easier because we're becoming more of our true, authentic self. So there's no the worries about how people are coming to see you because they want to see you. So it's like, I'm going to show up the best way I can for me. Because if I show up the best way I can for me, I'm the best for everybody else. I'm going to wear the clothes that make me feel good. Yeah, no, totally. But I totally get it from before, because that's how I would do the same thing. It's you have all these nerves and stuff, and it's always for it's for the people are going to see me. I'm going to, it's all this stuff. It's all it is freaking fear. That's it. And it's nothing really. When you get on the other side of it, it's nothing. That's why it's so helpful to surround yourself with support, right? It's always nice to have someone that can see things from a bigger picture. I would say a big majority of my friends are big picture people, because there's some, especially when it comes to ourselves, we have a tendency to only see inside this little area, and we're so much bigger than this little area. And it's so cool. But the more that I've stepped into my true, authentic self, I don't care. And I know you've already gone through all this stuff, but it's like, I don't care how people receive me, because it's when people just step into their power, it's like giving me permission, like, oh my God, I can just be myself. I can wear jeans, because you told me about speakers that you've had on stage. They're wearing jeans and a t-shirt. Well, guess what? That's me. I like wearing freaking spandex. You can freaking wear them anywhere. You can bend down, you can squat down, you can jump, you can do whatever you want. There is no restrictions. So you'll probably find me in some sort of a spandex pants, but they're just leggings. But it's like, that's just me. That's me.
Yeah.
However I show up, and but that's a daily basis, right? Like, however we show up, it doesn't matter if you're going to the grocery store. I saw a little TikTok the other day, and the lady was like all dressed up. She's like probably 60, 70 years old. And she says, oh, you asked me why I'm all dressed up? Because I'm going to the mailbox. The question is, why aren't you taking care of yourself and dressing yourself up? Like, that's what made her feel good. Sassy, yeah. But it was pretty awesome, because it was like so cool. I'm just going to the mailbox.
And the neighborhood's going to see me, right?
That's right. Well, but she was enjoying herself.
Yeah. And when you talk about how you dress, it does have because we still have those programmings. We still have that mental program of how you dress depends on who you're around, how you're trying to help others perceive you. And what I say, that first 3 seconds, somebody's already judged you. So, and I always thought like, oh, I got to go get the, the clothes that they call it, the dressing like the nines or what, however, just really dressing top notch. Right.
Yeah.
And then I get into like in 2020, a little bit before that, but really in 2020, it hit me like I was involved a lot with like Tony Robbins and Dean Graziosi in the business world. And Dean Graziosi just kept saying over and over and over, you know why I do what I do? So I can do what I want to do and I can dress the way I want to dress.
Nice.
And he shows up in a t-shirt, typically a black t-shirt and jeans and sneakers every day. And I've also heard, I want to say Steve Jobs, but I'm not sure if it was him or Facebook, the guy owns Facebook. Anyway, they said like they have 10 black t-shirts, 10 pairs of jeans, and they don't have to make it like there's no time wasted in the morning of getting dressed. They know what they're going to get. Grab a black t-shirt and pair of jeans. That's they're like, I stand in my closet for 20 minutes thinking, oh my Lanta, what am I going to wear today? Wait, and they just go in, that bam, done, 2 minutes to get dressed. So, but what I was getting to this point was, I noticed in myself that when I stay in my pajamas, I'm a lot more relaxed, but I'm also not as driven, because pajama means, right? To me, pajamas means I'm going to be relaxing. It's an evening time, like, just bring in the energy of the day lower in the sense of my mental faculties aren't working as much. That makes sense. So when I get dressed, I feel like I feel up, like, okay, we're going to go, we're going to work, we're going to get things done, we're getting being accomplished today. Right. And I'm telling you, it's just an energy thing about how you dress and why you get dressed.
Yeah. And that's back to paying attention to how you feel, right? How each thing makes you feel. Dressing for success looks different from one person to the next.
Right.
That's really all it is. And of course, it makes sense to me to be in your pajamas. Just means like I'm not going to be probably doing a whole lot of anything because I'm in a relaxed state.
And Gary Vaynerchuk, you see him, he's in jeans and t-shirts all the time. He throwing F-bombs all left and right.
Yes, he does.
And he's a multimillionaire. I'm like, you know what? You go look in the mirror and you say, this is where I'm practicing right now. I look in the mirror and I say, that is what a six-figure income earner looks like. Looks just like you. And it doesn't matter if my hair is all wild because I just woke up, or if I'm in my t-shirts, or if I'm dressed up. I can look in the mirror and say a six-figure income earner looks just like you.
Exactly. That's exactly it. Because we've identified that, it has to look a certain way, or just like when people age, that they think you got to dress a certain way, you got to look a certain way. That's not the way it is. It's like you do whatever makes you happy, really. And it's just that simple.
Yeah, and your clothes it's an energy thing, and it's when I was depressed, I wore black a lot. Now that I've done some healing, I've walked through a lot of my stuff and chaos, and I've feel lighter. Now I want bright colored clothes. Now I want it's not that I want, so the black was a hiding, don't see me, right? The colors is, here I am, I'm going to shine. And it's okay if you see me. So it's like giving people permission to say, here, or to see me, not to say, but to see me.
It's interesting. And then this whole being seen, if I even have had people come in recently and I'm like, well, I'm going to be 100% me, because before I might restrict things, I'm going to, whatever comes forward, I'm going to discuss, and they may or may not like it. And that's fine. There's another person they can go see. It's all good. I mean, it's fine. And it's like, I find the more that I do that, they're like, can I get another appointment with you? Can I see you like every 2 weeks?
Right.
Or do you have any opening? Like, yeah. So it's like that. Before I was afraid to be those things. And I have people that still come to me and they'll say, well, gosh, I'm just not around a lot of people that are like that. And I'm like, well, but you're saying that you're not. It's like, you're preaching your word. It's like, is that what you want? You're solidifying your case. However you want to look at it, you're the one that's creating your space. Do you want to have more people that are around you like that? Because I do. And the more and more I do, the more and more they show up, and they keep showing up as far as clients. And it's like looking at the outside, their shell, I wouldn't think that they'd even have any of these conversations. And then they're like, oh, that's exactly what I needed today. But by me being myself, and that's the thing that all of us do. If we're being ourselves, we're exactly what someone else needs. Whoever crossed our path, it's exactly what we needed. And if they cross our path, that's one thing I've noticed. If we have duality, if we're seeing duality and we're seeing outside of ourselves, we have duality within ourselves. We've kind of talked about this. But of course, it's coming up for me again. And if I'm seeing whatever is coming into my experience is the same thing. If I, just like you just said, judging, if we're in a place of judging another, we're judging ourselves all the time. And we're putting ourselves in this place to be judged, but we don't have to be. It's like when you're your true authentic self, you don't feel like you have to, be better than anybody else. There's no competition there. It doesn't matter if, it was funny because I was at the store with someone recently that comes from a lot of money, and we're having a conversation, and then one of her friends comes by and she starts to have a conversation, and she kind of like she'll laugh, and she like included me in that. And then we're at the checkout area and she's like looking at me like from head to toe. And I'm like, that's all right. Cause I've done this stuff to myself. I've done it to myself plenty of times. I know why you're here, but it didn't bother me. It was a different perspective. It was a different feeling. It was like, okay. And that's probably the end of that. It's like, it's that lack of self-confidence going out. And it's like, oh, I need to be dressed to the nines. Like what you were saying, totally dressed up and stuff. And it's like, no, if that makes me feel good, then do it. But if it doesn't make me feel good, don't do it. It's just, I'm just going to be me, 100% me. And I'm learning what that is every day. And how do we know? It's by what we like and what we don't like. When we start to shriek away, even before when I had made the decision, like I'm going to leave massage, which I'm not leaving massage right now. I'm going to be here for a bit, but I was going to leave it. And it's like, I had that excitement inside of myself. It's like, yeah, this is it. And then the first person talked me down, and it's not talking me down anymore. Just like this QHHT, this quantum healing hypnosis technique that was created by Dolores Cannon. It's like I'll hear stuff and it's like, oh, I'm on this high, and I'm like, oh, I know everything is possible. Because for me, I know everything is possible. Nothing is impossible. Nothing, absolutely nothing. And I'm sitting here going through this process, and then I schedule with this other person, and he has you watch this video. And it's Dolores saying, people have this grandiose idea when they come in that this is going to happen, and this is going to happen, and this is going to happen. And it's like, then I was like, oh, it kind of deflated me a minute. I'm like, wait a minute. It doesn't have to be this way. It can be the way that I want to see it. It's setting intentions. It's not being hopeful that something that's going to happen. It's being faithful that something I know is transpiring. Whether I ever make it to that appointment, because I'm already going through such a huge growth, and I know everything is within myself. And I already know I can freaking hear the messages, but I'm just not shutting up long enough to hear the messages. Or when I get into meditation, my mind starts running off with something, which is fine too, because eventually it'll stop doing that. But it's like this whole process, and it's like, it's such a journey, just like your journey. We're taking baby steps this whole way. But when we look back, it's like, holy crap. Like we've had a huge jump forward.
Well, and you say baby steps, and I just want to help people understand that we didn't go from kindergarten to college. Like there was all these steps in between to get there, because there's a lot of learning, right? There's a lot of pieces, intricate pieces that are needed to go to college, get a PhD, get your doctorate, whatever. It's the same with our healing process. You're not going to go from trauma and suicidal to joy. Like, I mean, there's some pieces in between. This is our healing process. This is the journey of walking through this. And this is, we're here to feel all the feels. And it's okay. So I just wanted to hit on that you were saying.
The awesome thing is that you feel, when you're in that suicidal place or that place and you're actually thinking about joy, that's a want desire. Is like, okay, so my ideals are changing. So recently, and it's good to look at things like this way. Recently, I was told the rent was going to go up in my space. And first she said $100. And I'm like, well, I can't do that. I mean, I'm not in a space to do that right this minute. But then I thought, oh, wait a minute. I have this desire for me that I still want to have a space. That's awesome. Those are huge thoughts. So even being in a space of anger and sadness and depression and, maybe suicidal thoughts, if you have a thought that's better, joy, it's not that it's not possible to get there. It's just, it's the wonderful thing is I've still got this desire in me to have that. And when you have that little light of desire within yourself, it starts to burst forward. It starts to open up more if you put more attention into that space. And of course, it's all right if you go backwards a little bit, it's fine. But it's just recognizing, oh, I've changed so much. I can see things from a different space. I want this now. I want my own space. I want to have my joy. I want to be able to see the clients that I see. I love seeing people. I do. When I'm off for like 3 and 4 days a week. And it's like getting to the point where, I might want to go back in, maybe I can go in the morning and I didn't have these desires before because I wasn't able to be there. I wasn't in that space because I was hidden under that depression. I was hidden under that anger and unworthiness and all the other feelings and all the other emotions. It was still all there and I couldn't see past it, but it was baby steps, right? It was just the process of, I had a desire within myself that pulled me along. It's like I was constantly pulling myself along to the next part, to the next part, to the next part. And then sometimes it just felt like I wasn't getting there fast enough, but it's all right. It's all right because we're getting there fast and you're feeling that way because your body's like trying to catch up, right? Like give it a break, like give yourself a break, leave on your pajamas. If your pajamas are saying, hey, you need to keep me on all day long, then do that. That's easier than your body being like, oh, you just stepped off the curb wrong. We're going to take you down for, about 6 weeks. I mean, there's a lot of easier ways. We can start listening to the little messages, just like with meditation. All it means is it's not something I have to do. It's something that I get to do because it enforces my connection. It strengthens it because that's part of the baby steps, right? If I'm going to build that muscle, my intuitive side, my whatever you want to call it, where you can hear things, your clairsentience, your clairaudience, all your clairs. If you want to work on all those, then start focusing on the basics. If I want to hear more, then I'm going to close my eyes and I'm going to listen more with my ears. If I want to see more, I'm going to close my eyes and still look with my eyes. I kept trying to focus on my third eye, but it's like the more that I close my eyes and then look with my eyes, that made sense to me because then I started seeing the reds, the bright reds. I started seeing, almost as if I'm seeing a sunrise or a sunset. Like it's awesome. It is awesome, the stuff that we can see. But I wouldn't have noticed that if I hadn't closed my eyes to pay attention and recognize what I'm doing.
I want to
Feeling the energy.
Do I say that again?
I say feeling the energy. When I first started feeling the energy, it was picking up a selenite tower. That was my first, before I recognized, I've been doing it all my whole life, but I recognize that and I've grown it since. So it's like when I sit at the head of the table over someone else and I feel all their energy, I can feel it. Is it pushing? Is it pulling? I can feel all that stuff, but It's something I trained myself to do. It's not something, it's always been there. We all have these abilities and it's always been there. But if I didn't start paying attention to the little hints of it, I wouldn't have given it more attention or tried more.
Well, when we're learning the clairs and learning to be open to the spiritual guidance, first and foremost, we have to be present, right? So that's the practice, is being in the present moment long enough to get those hits, to get that guidance. And then you still have to be present to receive, but it gets amplified. Like you're like, oh, every day I'm asking, I'm like, okay, spirit, I'm open to you helping me and guiding me through this life. So my intention is to be present enough to receive your guidance and follow the guidance you're giving me, which is key. But going back to the room rent was, it's a graduation process. I feel like for you is okay, if I, my heart stops and it drops like, oh, it's going up $100, then already you've gone into a lack mentality. However, this is an opportunity to say, you know what? Prosperity is everywhere. And this recently, what's come to me is being in a win-win situation, a win-win-win situation. And it's, okay, so the landlord's going to raise the rent. That's a win for her because she's going to get more money for that space. It's a win for you because you're learning to be in that space, to be open, to know that prosperity flows to you easily, that there is enough money on this planet. And as long as you're open to receiving it, so your practice, right? So this is a win for you because it's giving you the opportunity to practice on the next level. And it's a win for your clients because you're going to be showing up, right? You're still showing up for them and you're still available to help them walk their journey and help guide them through that. But I just really wanted to hit upon, like, it's the opportunity for you to grow and expand even more in the prosperity pieces.
Yeah. And it's to not hold on. The other thing was to not hold on to a space. So it's like, I'm open. Well, if something else comes up, great.
Right.
At some point I will, out on our property that I'm on right now, I'll have a space. I would like the road to be bladed or something so people can get out to me. But as I've already had clients without even saying anything to them, they're like, well, we'll just come out to you. And it's like, okay, well, that's awesome. And that is something that's will be seen in the foreseeable future. I don't know when that transpires, but it's like it's a big deal. It's like this whole process. And yeah, it was at first I was like, oh my God, how am I going to do that? And it's like, I was there for a second. But during that process,
I can't do that. Not how
yeah.
can I do it? I can do that.
Yeah. And it's like, I knew because my prices have been low for so long. So those prices they've been changing anyway. So now they're going to change again, which is all right. Cause it's like, that's going to reflect it's change. That's still not holding on to where things are at. And it's also being open because it was that same morning someone says, oh, you're still here in the same place. I said, yeah. And he says, well, it must be working out good for you. I said, yeah, it's been really nice. It's nice and quiet here because I'm again, always going to strengthen what I have noticed and what I want, because that's what I want. It's nice and quiet there. So it's like I'm constantly creating my space. The energy is good, but I also know wherever I go, the energy is going to be good because that's just the way it is. Then I change the whole space. So it's like I'm being open, and it's like, okay, well, if there is a plan for me to be in another place, show me where it is. I'm not gonna. Like I said, at first I started to stress about it, and it's like, no. And then she's having some conversations that love listing the place and everything like that, which is good. This is also another good move for her. This is also, there's such a bigger picture here that I see for her that this is a necessity for her, really.
Awesome.
And so it is awesome. I've had realizations too, even recently, because I had a family member that basically both my sister and I don't talk to this person any longer. And I was just talking to my daughter about it yesterday. I'm like, that this had to transpire because he couldn't let go of the previous relationship after she had passed away. If we were there all the time, that he may have not have done it with the best intentions, maybe when it happened, but for him, this is the only way. He pushed us away, but that was the only way for him to grow. He had to grow. So he's in another relationship right now, which is awesome. It's awesome. Like, really, I really wish the best for these people, honestly. But I also at the same point know that it's like, it feels like a contract has been completed, to be quite honest with you. It's like we came in and there may have been some karmic stuff, but it's like, it feels different now. It feels different now. And it's recognizing that, but we're in that time space that things are going to start work. If you're not noticing it, you're going to be noticing it.
Absolutely. I know
Just change.
there's relationships I have been in that I feel have some karma clearing going on in this
Yeah.
lifetime to be able to were they painful at the time to create that separation? Absolutely, because we're human, right? That's
Yes.
like a it's a stab in the heart sometimes, that pain, and be willing to bless them on their journey.
Yeah.
Like, even though, first of all, even though we're not getting along, that we're just not for each other. However, maybe in the previous life we killed each other or something. One of us killed one of the other. Now we can just walk away. Is the pain still there? Yeah, for a moment, until somebody does some healing work and saying, you know what, you're not my people. I send you lots of love. I wish you well. I hope you have a great life. I hope all your needs are met. I hope you live your most amazing life, and not hang on to that pain, that hurt, that resentment, that any of that. So it is possible.
Oh yeah.
Possible to have that separation and not hang on to all the crap associated to it.
It's so true. And it comes out in layers, like with anything. There's layers of it that we shed that come forward just when we can handle it. We're evolving as fast as we're letting ourselves, really, as fast as we can take the time to look at things. The more that we can see things within ourselves from a higher perspective, the easier it is to move beyond that. Because before, if you would have asked me what was one of the things that Dolores always says is, what did you learn from that situation? Everybody's had stuff in their life. Everybody has. But what's the one thing that you've learned? And it's like, there's a lot of things that I learned, but that's one thing I would learn. It's like to step back, because sometimes people from their own place, their own energy, from their own growth, wherever they're at right now, that's the best they can give right now. And my higher perspective sees it as that was the only way that this person could evolve. Because it was the same thing for Gemini. The only way that I could evolve and that he could evolve was that we had separated.
Mm-hmm.
It had to be that way. That was for growth. There was no other way. There was no other way. And then for growth to continue afterwards, that's the awesome thing. I mean, this is an awesome thing. I feel like he was always there for me to evolve. I'm sure he did his own evolution, which I did see, but I really do feel like he was here because he kept telling me, you're here to do something so much bigger than this. And why aren't you doing it? And I just figured you'd be further along by now. And it's like, calm down.
Good,
I didn't know what he was
I'm too
talking
focused
about.
on you and your shit.
Yeah. But that was the problem, right? Because that's the problem. We focus on things that are outside of us. And it is a problem. But at the same point, I learned so much by being focused on everything outside of me, because that's where I was already paying attention to everybody else's energy.
Right.
So you're already tuned in. It's like you don't have to do it. Almost everybody on the freaking face of this planet does not have to tune into anybody else. You've already been doing it your whole life. You've already been self-aware of everybody else your whole life, and just not yourself. Most, not everybody. But again, what did I learn from that? Well, I learned that I actually have the power to either put all my attention to that or put it into myself. And I'm learning to put that intention in myself. And also it comes down to the controlling. That's something that's came up for me recently, is noticing when something's not going the way that I want it, and I'm getting irritated. If I step back, it's only because I'm wanting to control that. Why would I want to control that? Because I went through child abuse, and then I thought if I controlled everything that was around me and I got everybody into a space of harmony, I had 5 minutes of harmony in that space.
Right.
You do all that work to get running around being a freaking clown, whatever needed to be done, cleaning, doing extra, people pleasing everybody, and then you get over there and it's like, okay, I got 5 minutes.
Whew.
Yeah. And it's like, it doesn't have to be that way, but I didn't know that because I was putting all my energy outside of myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now I'm bringing it back.
Yeah, I'm like, please send me to my room. Please put me in the corner. Please tell me to go take a nap.
It's funny because I've talked about, like, see your inner child and give that inner child a hug. Yeah, but see your teenager self, see your 25-year-old self, walk over and give her a freaking hug and tell her she's doing the best you can do right now. Like, see that happening. Oh, that makes me feel emotional because that's just so true. Because we just, at that moment, because we're the ones that we kept ourselves so separate from everything, so separate, but we don't see it that way anymore. So what a gift that we can look at ourselves and grow and be like, oh man, you did awesome. You did awesome. You had a limited toolbox and you did the best you could.
And you're still here.
Yeah.
Right. To me, that's just, I've said it before, that's just being a badass, because like you're still here. You made it through a lot of that chaos and trauma and holy moly, that takes a lot of endurance and strength and courage, bravery.
It really does. And you did it.
You did it. And the teenage years, you know, in adolescence, that's when you're 13, 14, when you're trying to figure out your own identity, who you want to fit in with, who, right after your childhood experiences, traumas, abuse, whatever you experience. And now you're a teenager and you're like, ah. And then we experience again, if you get married and you have kids, then we experience again around 40, between 40, 45, 50, somewhere in there, you're going through that same shit again. And it wasn't until just now that I kind of correlated those two, like our teenage years, trying to figure out who we are, and then doing it again after we've given our life at that point to our families, being so wrapped up in them, and then the family disperse, kids go to college or go do whatever they're going to do. And now here you are. And now you got to figure out who you are again. What do I like? Where do I fit in? Who am I? I know I went through that. That alone was a shitstorm for me, because I was torn because I didn't know who I was. And that was because I was moving through a healing practice, through emotional healing and figuring out who I was as a human, just not with all the identities of mother and daughter and granddaughter and all that. It was just, who am I? So it's interesting how we can go through that same experience at different times in our lives for different reasons. Wow, that was awesome. You might go, you need to go back and listen to that.
That's awesome. There's a constant evolution and things, you just have more clarity about things as you go on this journey. And then that doesn't always feel that way immediately, or even because we still get in the muck of things. That's just the way it is. But we don't spend that much time there, and we can decipher a lot better. We have more discernment. We have more clarity. We have more perspective because we can see it from a higher perspective with greater distance and see a lot of that stuff. And then it becomes less powerful. It really does. It's kind of, our journeys are just so magical. They really are when you sit and look at it. And, I was listening to Dolores last night in the class, and she's talking about this woman that had such a horrible, like, she couldn't believe her stepmom was beating her all the time and her dad didn't do anything about it. And she's like, so Dolores has her in the hypnosis or the hypnotic state, or her somnambulistic state, which is a very deep state. And she's asking her, why did you do this? And why did she go through this? And she said, well, she chose that. Nobody ever wants to hear that, but there's such a growth. There's so much growth that comes from that. You get such a different perspective on things. And I think we've got this great ideas when we get here, that these are the things that we're going to do, not realizing how much we're going to feel, because we feel so much here. And that's all right. The more that we start talking about these things, the more that we start feeling these things, the easier it all gets. It's not something that you have to keep trapped with inside of yourself. And that's why it's so great for us that we get to talk to each other. And we've been doing it for a long time, but we've also learned that that's how we talk to everybody else too. It's so beneficial. all this journey that we're on, and it's never just about my journey, but it's about whatever I do for myself. It's helping others. It's always helping others. Whatever we live through, we're going to be a benefit to somebody. And I know that kind of sounds shitty for some people, but it's like you get empowered. People that have lost children or young children or anything like that, they do such big things. They go on to create, great awareness about things. There's so much. It's never a loss that maybe that was the only reason that person came here, so you could be such a huge effect to so many other people that are here that have been struggling. Our lives are amazing, and it doesn't look like it all the time.
And just to share a little bit of an example of that is I have some close friends who their daughter babysat for us. They babysat Matthew, and she committed suicide, and she's one of 3 children. And her mother wrote a book about her process of her grieving, her anger, her blaming God. And she's a Christian. She declares being a Christian, goes to church regularly, but the trials and tribulations that she experienced through that process, she wrote a book, and now she has already spoke to hundreds of people about suicide and healing through that as a mother, as a in a marriage, and have 2 other children that you're all trying to navigate this path of change in such a traumatic way. And we don't always understand what's being handed to us. I know my experiences of my childhood is what has driven me to where I'm at today. So yeah, we may, in the moment, it's such a mess that it's so clouded and dark, and you don't know how you're going to get through it. And the thing is, you do get through it because you're still here. And then you're like, well, what, you look back, what the hell did I have that experience for? Well, then when you start asking the questions like that, it's like, then things start to come to light. And you eventually you will understand why you experienced it.
Because it was contrast, right? I mean, when we look at it now, it seems so simple to say, well, my daughter or my son was more than contrast, but it was contrast. The experience was contrast. It was contrast to create a desire for something more. You go back to that, I don't know if you've heard of that Susan Geisman, I don't know if I'm saying it right. She was like a 25 year Navy officer. I don't know what her ranking was when she left, but she was doing this job. Well, she lost her stepdaughter passed away. And she kept thinking there's got to be more. There's got to be more to her. I've got to still be able to talk to her or see her or whatever. And she kept asking and asking and asking. Well, next thing you know, she started getting confirmation and communication from her, and she would start seeing her. Now she actually channels, and she's a medium. So she's bringing forward messages for people, so that she had this strong desire, because she just knew there's more to this life. There's more to, that's not the end. When someone goes, that can't be the end. And so that desire created her helping other people to see that's not the end. So it's an awesome, there's such a progression that happens, but when we're going through it, it's a lot of process, it's a lot of grieving, but it's a lot of inside work, and really a lot of that stuff, when that happens, it really does put you back inside of yourself. You really don't have much of a choice besides going within. At that point, you just don't. I mean, you can ignore it. You can go do like a lot of people do. You can keep yourself busy. You can go work a lot. You can go, I mean, there's a million things you can do. You can totally ignore yourself. You can distract yourself any way you want to. I did it for many, many years. Distracted myself. I hung around, and I know the people that I hung around too. It's
Right.
like we talk about teenagers. I hung around people that were avoiding their internal stuff. They were all drinking and partying. We weren't present. We were not present ever. Maybe for a couple minutes, but most of the rest of the time, no.
We're having a good time though.
That's right. We thought we were having a good time.
Right.
It's quite the journey.
It is a journey, and it's, again, it just comes to perspective on, in the moment you just may not understand it, but nobody likes to hear this either, but there's a reason. And it's what are you going to turn that around? I mean, think about the person who created AA. he had to have gone through his own experiences and realized, people need help. And this is what the outline about what worked for me, and I can see it can help other people. And so, everything is, every healing modality has been created out of somebody else's pain.
Yeah. But there's such a growth. So you gain so much at the end of that, because we're all going to die. At some point, we're all going to leave our physical bodies, and we're going to do it in a million different ways or more.
Yeah. And then what I was thinking this earlier, I wrote it down, so I remembered to mention it, was that, how when even in elementary, when you graduate from preschool to kindergarten, they have a little celebration, right? Parents come and we're so excited. Then you go kindergarten to first grade, like there's always this graduation excitement and certificates and, just a good time. I envision like each step of healing that we go through, that our spirit teams, spirit energies are celebrating the heck out of us. Like, she got it. She did it. She woo, right? Okay, next lesson, let's go. Right. And they're just cheering you on and having the most amazing time. And that finish line is when we're going to take our last breath, is the finish line to go back into spirit and decide what's next. How am I going to grow and expand even more? And there's just, I could just see this spirit world, just a huge celebration for us all the time, every day, even if it's like, oh, she listened to the message we sent her and she's taking action on it. Good for her, right?
Yeah.
We got to do that for ourselves even more. I mean, this week I've been doing that so much, and being, creativity in my business has just been a huge thing. I've talked about it a lot already this year. And it's just like the other day I was, okay, one of my affirmations is I'm a creative being. I am a magnificent manifester, right? So I'm like, okay, I have this thing to promote and I want it like win-win. Once is my thing right now, is I want everybody to win. So how can I put this into such a way that everybody who is involved is going to win? Mm-hmm. They're going to get something out of this, right? It's not just me and my ego. It's not just about this event I'm promoting. It's everybody's going to win in some way. And it was like, create this class, do this, do that, follow, post this, and a couple hours, I had it all done, class posted on my website, promotions out. And I was like, that was so freaking cool and so easy and so amazing. And I celebrate. I was like, holy hell, that was so cool, right? And I was just like, I did that. So that's the divine guidance. That's following being led by spirit. That's listening to that intuition. That's, that's asking the question of, okay, how am I going to get the word out on this? And everybody's going to win from it.
Yes.
So that was a lot of fun. I had fun with it. And that was key, because typically I'd be like, oh my land, I got to create another class. And well, yeah, I've got to be creating classes all the time anyway. That's what I do. That's part of my gig here. That's part of my jam. And so why would this be any different? But how about we be in the flow of fun in creating it instead of oh my God, I don't have time for this. I got all this stuff to do. I got a to-do list a mile long, right? It's going to put me behind. You know what? And it didn't. Because another thing I ask is I have all the time, space, and energy to give attention to those tasks that I need to get done. And everything got done, even with those couple of hours of putting this class together and that promotion, like everything I needed to get done that day got done. It's almost like a time warp, like time stood still while I was creating this class, and it was amazing and it was fun.
That's awesome. As it should be. And that's how you always know that's your path. You always know that you're on that right path, because how it feels. Really, that's really all how it feels. It even goes back to the hypnosis stuff. If I'm learning that, well, what was I preaching before? You got to ask questions. Well, when I'm in the space and I'm becoming the facilitator for this, I got to ask lots of questions. I've got to be like really thinking outside the box for these questions. If you have limited possibilities or you think things that aren't possible, then I'm not going to be a very good person, because I'm going to always be trying to see, like, seeing it limited. But I see it all possibilities. So it's like I've got all these things that are such a natural for me that's already guiding me. Where is it going to go from here? I don't know. But this is the next thing I'm going to be doing. And I'm excited about it. Like, I'm excited about it. No matter what, like everything else is like, it tries to, like, if it feels like to me, like it's trying to talk me out of it, it's like, nope, it's just giving you another perspective. That's all it is. And it's like, yeah, it doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't have to be that way. It's just an exciting journey when you just know. And I'm finally in that place where I can feel like this is where I'm supposed to go next. And you know by how you feel. You know by how it's, what direction it's trying to pull you in. You know, you just know, like, it's just, and you guys have been with me for a long time, at least like you're saying, almost 2 years, and whoever else has been with me longer than that has known that I've been going through my own struggles, been going through all this stuff. But it's like every part of it was part of the journey. There's so many different pieces from all over the place. I'm like, holy shit, that was leading me up to this. All this time I didn't even know, but it was leading me to this whole time. This confidence with one-on-one, this knowing that I can see one person, and that person, that's what it's all about. When that person leaves, now they've got the gift of whatever they received during that session, whatever it was. I know that when they walk away, it doesn't matter if it's for massage or anything that I do, that they always feel better. They always feel better. Mentally, physically, spiritually, always. It's just a reconnection. We don't even have to, we could probably just sit there and look lovingly into each other's eyes. And they'd walk away feeling better. And it's not because I'm all that, it's just because I'm connecting with all of that.
Right.
And I'm not getting ego in the way, and I'm not, and that self-confidence and the fears and the unworthiness, all that stuff is because I've been doing the work and I haven't been afraid to look at it. And when I start to feel those feelings, you feel like you've been punched in the gut or whatever, I stop and feel it for a minute. I feel what that feels like. Instead of trying to be like, oh no, and stuff it away, I'm just feeling it.
Feel the feels.
That's right. Back to that again.
Back to that. Like, oh my gosh.
we're in a play. Like, it's like I hear it all the time because I've been listening to Dolores a lot. I'm doing the classes, and then I'm listening to stuff online, and I'm reading one of her books. And so, I mean, it's coming at me from all different directions, but I'm actually pulled that way. And if you go back like several videos, I said something like, well, Dolores Cannon's pretty cool. And I know there's a lot of people that like her, but she's just not really for me.
And here
it's so
we are.
hilarious. It's so hilarious. But that's the pay attention, right? It doesn't matter. It still brought forth something within inside of me. It still lit me up. And at that time I was like, nope, not for me. Just like you said about the healing. Nope, not for me. And the thing is, we all go to these people, these psychics, these mediums, these whoever, someone to do our card reading, whatever. We do all this stuff, but we're not even listening to the freaking messages that are coming from inside. So then they're giving you a message and they're telling you, well, then you're a healer. You're going to go do this. Because I've talked to Pam, and Pam's told me some stuff too. And I'm like, okay, you know, sure.
Whatever.
Okay. I don't know what that looks like in the reality of the scheme of things, but whatever, you know. But the thing is, it doesn't matter. The whole situation is, if I'm not willing to listen from within, then I'm not ready to hear it from. It doesn't matter how much money you put out to anybody. You're still going to get the answers that you didn't want to hear because you already freaking know.
Right.
And you're still not going to listen to it anyways until you're ready.
Right. Yeah, we talked about that too a couple of videos back. Is that we have our intuition, we know the answers, we know the direction to move, but we don't want to listen to that, or we don't trust that information. We don't trust making that decision. So, okay, well, I'm going to go get a card reading. I want to go see a psychic medium. And she tells you what you're already thinking and confirming what you already know. And you're like, bitch, you need to reshuffle them cards because that ain't it.
Yeah. At the same point, it's always nice to have a different perspective, because then it's like, because sometimes you might hear it differently from somebody else. So that's fine too. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with doing that, but the more that I'm learning as we go, we have everything within inside of ourselves. I don't really have to go to California to do anything else. I really don't have to do anything. I just present the questions, we live life, and it makes us ask for more, and more shows up if we allow it to show up.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So never say never, because just saying.
It's gonna show up. It's
End
gonna
up
show
being
up.
a teacher and energy healer.
That's right. That's right.
Damn it. She was right. Oh, but now I can laugh about it. Then I was scared to death. I was shaking in my clothes, like, oh no, no way, no way.
Yeah.
And now I love it. I'm
It's like,
having fun being on the summits. I'm, having fun connecting with people. So this is something too, is when we listen to our intuition and we say, things can be so much greater than what we expect them to be. I'm making connections with people that I would have never made connections with, most likely, through these summits. And it was another rewarding piece was when somebody reached out to me and said, I heard your story and I think more people need to hear it.
nice.
That was like, wow, somebody's really hearing me that doesn't even know me. They're hearing me and they want to lift me up in a way to lift others up and encourage me to move in this direction. And so, that was very heartfelt, that receiving an email from another lady who was interested in me. Right. And so, and then there's a handful more people that's reached out, but this journey that I have stepped on now, like my growth is expanding even more. So it's like I'm in that next phase of even more growth and expansion and learning to navigate that. So here we go. Right? Strapped in to the roller coaster car. I'm ready.
Yep. But you've worked your way up to this. You're now working you're now the baby that's walking around and running. You know what I mean?
Right.
You set the ideas in motion the whole time along the way. It's like, I wanted to go faster. I wanted to go faster. Well, you start getting past these couple of things, you remove a couple of things that are all that are blocking your wheels from moving. And all of a sudden, ooh, look out. Then you're going to be like, yabba dabba doo, putting your foot down, trying to slow it down a little bit.
That's right.
Maybe. It's like, I want to enjoy this. I can't see everything. It's blurring by me right now. So it's a wonderful.
So fast.
It is. So it's wonderful. Everyone, you're on the right path. That's to let you know everybody's on the right path. You're not doing anything wrong. Quit comparing yourself to everybody else. Quit wanting to do the same thing that everybody else is, or see the same thing that someone else is seeing. See the stuff that you're seeing. Like, see what you're seeing and then share it, because it's possibility.
Right. So good, my friends. You can go back and listen to this again 10 times. There's so much good stuff. So thank you for being with us. We appreciate your time and energy. And we know you could be anywhere else and you chose to hang out with us. So we honor you and we thank you. And we also hold space for you with where you're at on your journey. And we wish you the best, amazing life if you allow yourself to do it for yourself. Because we can't make you do it. We can just encourage you. But be sure to give us some comments, some questions, and we'll respond to them at our earliest availability. You can find us here on YouTube, Facebook. You can email us, amieandbev@gmail.com. And then we're on the platforms of iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Podcast Addict, Spreaker, and Spotify. So, and be sure to let your friends and family know too, because you know someone who could hear some of these encouraging words. And we would greatly appreciate that.
Yes, we would.
All right, my friends, thank you so much for hanging out, and we'll see you next time.
See you later.